Hello, everybody. My name is Sophia Porter.
My name is Carly Hill. This is You Got,
a Game of Thrones podcast. It is Monday. It is the day after the episode, The Red Woman, the premiere of Season 6 has come out. And I'm still really reveling in it. I had a really good time watching it the second time I watched it. The first time I didn't like it as much. And Carly, you and I were together for it.
Yes. As it should be.
Yes, we would have it no other way, of course. No, but we were together. We had the wine, actually the beer flowing, and the ale. We had the ale flowing, and we had a really nice time watching it with a few friends, and we just held hands through the whole thing, which was me hurting your hand more than you holding my hand. It was more of a... At one point,
I was gripping your hand, and I was like, I hope I'm not bothering her. Then I realized, I think we're squeezing each other's hand at the same level so much that it's canceling...
We were numbing each other's hands. Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. So I think we should honestly just dive right into... The Red Woman, because there's a lot to talk about, and instead of doing a full recap, we touch on, like last season, we touched on every single character and made sure we knew where everybody was headed, but the fact is, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know what's going on in Game of Thrones, unless you just like listening to our voices, but like...
I mean, I understand.
That's understandable, but at the same time, I have a feeling every listener here is caught up, at least, yes. Right?
I think that's safe.
I think it's a pretty safe bet. So instead, we're gonna do highlights and not so highlights of the episodes, because we picked out. So Carly and I each picked out two or three things. Oh gosh, I have a tickle in my throat. Two or three things that we really liked about the episode. Two or three things we didn't really like about the episode, and we're gonna pick those apart. And I'm sure we're gonna touch on everything at one point or another. But just for now, two or three things that we liked. The highlights section, the highlights reel, if you will.
I like that. Yeah, like just these are a few of my favorite things, and that was bad. I'm sorry.
That was amazing. That was literally amazing. Okay, so I definitely think we should let's talk about the highlights. Carly,
let's do it.
Do you have a number one, or should we count it from like? Do they have an order, or should we just sort of just say what we liked?
I think let's just go for it.
I agree. Take it off.
I'm gonna do it. Okay, it's happening.
Take it off. Take us off is what I meant to say.
Sophia, I'm not even there with you.
It's true, you're not. We have computers and many miles separating us.
I know. It's like we're an entire probably 15 to 20 minutes away, and that is too much.
It's way too much.
Way too much. It should be 15 seconds away at the very most.
Transporting. We need we need to learn how to apparate. That's really what it is.
I think that's the easiest
Solely for this. Solely for you got recording sessions.
When they give us the Nobel the science...
The Nobel? No way.
The science prize.
Oh.
for figuring that out. We'll be like, well, it was all because we needed to record this podcast together.
Yes, we figured out.
We know nothing.
We know nothing about science. It was magic.
It was magic.
It was the magic of Game of Thrones. Okay, so what's your first favorite moment of The Red Woman?
So, this is a weird favorite moment, but at first I wasn't sure if I enjoyed it, but I think I did. Mm-hmm. The little call humor that was happening.
Dude, I literally have that written down.
Yes, see, I was wondering where you stood on that, because part of me was kind of like, why are you making us laugh? This is Game of Thrones. These should not be happy tears. These
exactly.
Should be sadness. But I thought that was hilarious. It kind of, I don't know, it was a good moment. I had a good time.
No, I totally 100% agree with that. I wrote that down. I actually said, if you say this one thing, I'll say this instead. Because I had a few favorite moments. I didn't want to pick just three, but I'm okay with that. But I totally agree. I thought that call humor, it was so good. It was in a different language. It's in Dothraki, which we haven't heard in a long time. We know that Daenerys knows, so we're sort of on her side with it, but also it's definitely humanizing these characters in a way that we've never seen the Dothraki humanized except for Khal Drogo, really, before. And so I loved that. And also, it's sort of man, we needed that.
I completely agree. And what you said about it kind of actually fleshing out their, kind of just their people as a whole. Like, it was nice to, like, get that little bit of humor and, like, have them be more than just, like, these are the Dothraki. They're a really good plot device in the first season.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And it was so nice to return to that because, I don't know, I will say another one of my favorite moments leading right into it was when Dany saved her, you know, the whole, I know what you're saying, like, I know exactly what you're talking about. She just saved that right until the right moment. And
she totally
first,
did.
I kind of like how it wasn't, like, when she did break out the Dothraki, when she first did, like, they kind of laughed. They were like,
like, you're no one. You don't really matter.
Yeah, you don't really matter. Like, we don't care if you can speak our language. They didn't do, like, oh my god, she's speaking her language.
Right, they didn't recoil in fear or anything. It was very, like, okay.
Yeah, it was like, oh, it's good. That was cute.
That's funny. It's a funny thing that you just said. No, I completely agree. I think that whole, honestly, besides one scene that we're absolutely going to talk about, that might have been the best character introduction and just put together scene of this episode as a whole. Because the audience needs relief.
Yes.
Whether or not we know it, like, we go, and that's why I like this episode so much more in the second viewing. The first viewing, I was really prepared for, like, action and everything to just sort of work out, and that I realized that that's not the right way to look at Game of Thrones. It's all about the game, right? It's called Game of Thrones.
Yeah, not
the war. It's not the war of the Five Kings. It's not like it's not the war of the Seven Kingdoms. It's Game of Thrones. So it's all about the words and the verbiage, and so I really appreciate that they gave a lot of thought into that, into this episode. Like, and you can tell. Yeah. So it might not have been a most exciting episode. I mean, there were deaths, sure, but it's not Game of Thrones without deaths and boobs, you know? But
and there were both of those things. And we did have a death count.
We did have a death count.
Which I think should be a thing, actually.
I absolutely agree. Within, 30 minutes, literally 15 people had died already? Yeah, about. Because that's how Brienne killed some people.
So many people died.
Sansa's killed some people. Yeah, so I don't know. I really appreciate this episode now. So, and that was one of the exact reasons. So, moving on, do you want to just say your third, and then we can go through mine? Great.
Okay, I liked what they did with Arya in this episode because, and you were with me like when I was kind of like, what, like, because I knew it was supposed to be teaching her a lesson, but at the same time it was like. Their teaching methods are not great. Like, right. I'm just gonna say, not the best, but whatever. So, but I mean, I don't know. I like that. I like that they showed, you know, they're giving a reason behind her blindness. They're kind of saying, okay, like, you're blind now. What are you gonna do about it? And it's gonna really I think it's gonna push her character the rest of the way that she needs to go to really kind of come into her own power.
I agree. It's sort of laying the groundwork for this character that Arya's finally on the road to becoming. I mean, she's been doing so much in terms of character development and changing. And I said last season, you know, I compared the Arya's training in the books to Arya's training in the show. And in the books, her being blind it's not a punishment. It's a way of showing her that she has to hone in her other senses before she can ever go out into the world because she relies so much on looking and on sight. And so it's really interesting that they chose to make it a punishment, but this Arya is different than the Arya in the books. She's way harder, and so I think it's perfect for her to be punished and for her to have to go through all of these getting beaten up in front of a bunch of people every day. I think it's interesting.
It is interesting. It's also interesting because I don't know that I've viewed her blindness and what happened in this episode as a punishment per se. Because compared to the books, like, and again, like, still halfway through that first book, by the way. It's only been 80 years. That's fine. Chugging away.
Oh my god.
It'd be a while. I'm gonna get there. But yeah, I mean, like, I can't speak to her character from the book. Because I don't really know her character from later books and, you know, when she is in this process. But as a TV viewer, I kind of view, like, what they're doing to her looks very much like a punishment, but it always has been, like, a teaching method. Yeah. A really, really harsh teaching method that I would not ever do. This is not... If I was in Westeros at all, this is not where I would be.
Right, exactly. No, but Arya definitely sees it as a punishment. You know, she doesn't see that this is a lesson yet. And I'm excited for when she actually comes to understand that this is something she has to do in order to become no one, and in order to sort of further her claim on being this nobody.
I see what you mean. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I agree. Yes.
Yeah, but I 100%, I loved the fight. Honestly, the second time I watched it, I was like, man, the waif is actually turning into one of my favorite characters. Yeah. Because the waif might not be the waif. The waif she's no one. That they've literally encapsulated the perfection of the House of Black and White. The waif is not the waif is no one. It could be Jack. They proved that at the end of the last episode, at the end of the season 5 finale. They proved that.
That was still, like, mind-twisting.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think Arya... Oh, I'm so excited. I use that word so much. I was listening to our last week's episode, and I say I'm so excited so much. And it's because I am. There's nothing else to say about it except for that I love everything about this. So I'm just so excited.
The day that there's, like, something that you don't say you're excited about in Game of Thrones, like, at least one thing, that's the day that I'm worried, that I'm like, oh my god, she is no one. Like, she is just wearing Sophia's face. I don't know who this is.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Okay, so my favorite, so it's nice, you and I didn't overlap at all, actually. So, obviously my first favorite moment was Davos finding Jon's body. Not because Jon's body is found, but because it's Davos that finds him. And I think that that's such an important, it's really telling that they could have had anybody find Jon's body. Anybody in the Night's Watch. And they chose Davos, which really means that they're pushing him to become this better character, this better man, and they care about him. And you can tell. And that was something I really appreciated in this episode, is how much Davos was cared for. And we're going to talk about that a lot more in Davos talk, but it started off the episode in such a good way for me, seeing Davos run to Jon's body. That set the stage. 100%. Yeah. So
that's solidified. There was already that connection between Davos and the Red Woman and Stannis, like when they had first come to Castle Black. But I think that this solidified a better part of that, of what they, like, kind of weird relationship they were trying to build last season. Yeah. And I agree with you. Like, I didn't really pick up on the significance of Davos finding Jon's body, but you're totally right. I mean, they would not have had him be the one to find it if they didn't want to, expand on that and make that into something really significant. Yeah,
it could have been Ed. It could have been Ghost. It could have been anybody that found Jon. And instead it was Davos. It's very poignant and it's very important. And we're going to get to it in Davos talk, I promise. That's it's all I want.
Continued.
So my next favorite scene, I want to make sure I don't, step on any of your toes. I think my next favorite scene has got to be, and I know you're going to talk about this later, but the Brienne giving Sansa her sword just, it made my heart just sort of explode a little bit. Like, it's been so long, and Brienne has gone through so much, and Sansa has gone through so much, and they finally found each other, and they're not men.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. There are men there, of course, but they're not men, and it feels like Sansa's finally safe. And it terrifies me a little bit, because if Sansa feels safe, they can always take it away. And they've done that for season after season after season. They have taken Sansa's safety away. And so I'm really hoping that they're gonna not take Brienne away, because I think Blair would at least storm HBO headquarters.
Oh, yes.
At least. And I would probably go with her, because of all the people to kill Stannis, Brienne is the one I'm okay with. And of all the people to be with Sansa and to protect her, that was the perfect moment for her to show up. And but when the moment of the two of them saying their vows to each other, that was by far and large the best moment of the show.
That was incredible. Yeah. That was so great, because it really was a build-up. And it was one of those things where I actually, for a few seconds, was like, if Sansa turns this down... Because, you never know. Yeah. You never really know with her. She did it. She's done it twice before, or maybe just once
before. Yeah.
Oh, just once. Okay, but I'm very, very happy to finally see them together. Yeah. I also really liked when she and Theon hugged each other. Mm-hmm. There was such a look of not just safety in her eyes, but just that familiar. Oh my God, this is family.
Right. He's not going to hurt me. Yeah, he's not going to hurt me in that way.
He's not going to hurt me in that way. Yeah, and she
definitely.
just looked so relieved. And, it was the scene where he's, like, trying to warm her up, too, but she just looks relieved there. It looks like the first real breath of air she's taken in a really long time.
Yeah, and it was, and it's perfectly ruined by those dogs, and then it's perfectly, that scene was, it was so good. It was so good. So that was definitely one of my highlights. And then my third highlight, and this is weird for me, was actually the conversation between Cersei and Jamie. When Cersei talks about how when Marcella was born, she was good and she was pure and she was everything that Cersei and Jamie weren't. And Cersei believed that if she could make something so good, she might not be a monster. And those lines just rang so true to me because it's so just like so open and honest, and you've never seen Cersei, like, she really, when she sees Marcella's body and Jamie, Freudian slip there, and Jamie riding on the boat toward her, like, she's hit rock bottom. Everything she's gone to up until this point does not matter because she thinks she's going to see her daughter again. And now this is a turning point for Cersei. But the way that she said that, it's so well acted. Lena Headey, man, she just gets me every time. And I have to say, like, those comments, they were so small. Like, the way she said it made her seem so small. And I'm ready for her to become large again. And I think she's going to this season.
Oh, I think she's very much going to this season. I think this is going to be a season of Cersei. I mean, we've seen her mean before. Not mean. We've seen her, kind of rule with an iron fist before. And I think that this is the season where she just is like, okay, I'm done with the bullshit. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Is gonna kind of step up. But, what was I going to say about, about Cersei? Oh, yeah, one thing I read, I think it was IO9. I don't remember exactly what it is, but Blair posted it, about Brienne basically being, like, the best character and possibly the show. But one of the things they were talking about is how female power and the female characters are a really, really big, important part of the season, which, A, is awesome, and B, they were also talking about how in this episode, one thing that was just so intense were the little acting choices that were made that were the biggest ones, the ones with the biggest impact.
Yeah.
So with Brienne, like, her facial expressions when she's, pleading with Sansa, like, I'm gonna try again.
Right.
She had just the most amazing expressions there, and, like, they changed so drastically, but just with slight movements. And there was so much communicated with just tiny facial movements and vocal choices, and just the ladies on this show, man.
The ladies on this show are the reason this show, besides Davos, the reason this show is worth watching. And I am floored by them every day. Like, I was floored by Dany in this episode. I was, like, floored by Sansa, Cersei, Arya, except for Dornish women. I really do think
we'll talk about that.
We'll get to Dorne. Don't you worry about a thing. So now let's move on to, speaking of Dorne, which, we're going to move on to our not so favorite moments. And this is just because, they exist. Yeah. They have to. We're critics. We have to be. It's the name of the game. So for me, one of the moments that I just could not understand was Ramsay's, solo grieving scene. I don't need that. I am so aware. Ramsay's a psychopath.
Yes.
He's a psychopath. We don't need to see him mourning some girl only to then have her body be thrown to the dogs anyway. It's pointless. It's stupid. It's not necessary. They keep wasting time on Ramsay and this awful character when I really want to see Roose. Roose is the one that has all the power. We know Roose has all the power. And they keep trying to reinforce that Ramsay could be human on some level, and he's just not.
He's not.
And so it's frustrating.
I think they keep trying to, like, be like, no, but wait, maybe there's something like good inside. No, and, like, you're right. It got so redundant. Like, as soon as he was talking to her, like, and mourning, I'm doing finger quotes right now, like, mourning her, I was like, he's going to throw her to the dogs. That's exactly, like, he started the sentence with, like, oh, she smelled of dog. I was like, oh, that's where her body's going.
Yep, there she goes. Back to where she came from. Yeah.
Back to where he came from. And it wasn't even a surprising, like, oh, he's so evil. It's like, no, we know he's evil. Like, that's probably the least evil thing he's done is throw somebody's body who he, quote-unquote, not loved.
appreciated.
I guess. Sexually.
Used. I don't know. Yeah, it's really frustrating. And that scene was like 7 minutes long. Or no, I'm sorry. It was like 3 minutes long, then the Roose stuff tacked on was 7 minutes. But it was just sort of redundant and ridiculous, and it wasn't even redundant. It's just that I don't need that. We don't need that. We know how evil he is. We've already decided he's evil. There's no reason for us to see. He didn't even cry. Like, all he said is he's gonna he's gonna freaking hurt those people. And we already knew that.
Exactly. We already knew that, and I do agree. I really wanted to see more of the Roose stuff. Like, that little power play that happened between the two of them where he's basically like, oh, well, like, we better hope that the baby coming out is a boy. Like,
yeah, he's like, I have all the power in this. I play the game, kiddo. You don't.
So good. He's, like, pouring, like, his wine just slowly. He reminds me so much of, like a rich, waspy, like, parent being like, oh, well, let's hope your brother gets into you just got into Brown. Like, that's what they remind me of. And
you better go to Harvard because your older brother went to Yale and you need to one-up it. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or I went to Harvard, so.
Oh, you got accepted into Brown? At least we had our other son.
Yeah, right.
Like,
he's just the worst. I mean, no, he's not the worst, though. He's actually super interesting. He's the Red Wedding, you know? Roose Bolton is everything, and I love it. I love Roose, and I'm so ready for him to peel Ramsay's skin off and wear it.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully, literally.
Hopefully, literally. So that was my low light of the week. What about you?
So, yeah, I had 3.
Okay.
Jesus. I'm just that kind of person. 2 of them are more, like, just funny things I kind of noticed. The last one we will both segue into talking about.
Yeah, we will.
One of them, this is, like, ridiculous, but I was really upset that Melisandre didn't bang Jon's dead body. I'm sorry. Like, I had called it a long time ago. I was like,
You did. You said it immediately.
That is the first thing. I was like, she got naked. I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to do it. And then she did the last scene that I'm sure we'll talk about. But I was just like,
we're going to talk about it right now.
Yes. I wanted, I don't know. I don't know why. I wanted that little moment of satisfaction of like, oh, I'm right. She's really, really messed up.
She wouldn't, I mean, she might go that far. You don't know. But now that we've seen her true form.
Yeah.
Who really knows, honestly?
I don't know. There's so many lies now. Everything's a lie.
I'm trying to figure out what Melisandre has planned, and I just, like, what was the point of that scene?
Okay. We talked about this a little bit. What I got from that, because I thought it was kind of weird too. Like, it's weird that they named an entire episode after her, and she's basically in 2 scenes very briefly. Like, she's in the episode, but all she kind of says is like, oh, I was wrong. And then we have this really weird scene at the end where, like, she's old. And
shocker.
Like, yeah, shocker. First of all, like, at first it was kind of like this came out of nowhere. I never suspected or had any kind of theory.
I was totally taken aback by it. Totally.
Like, same here. Not even in a I don't know. Just, but what I gathered from it is it was a visual metaphor of saying that maybe she's not quite as powerful as she puts on a front as being. Wow, that was really badly worded.
Her only power comes from the stone around her neck. She's nothing.
Yeah.
She's nothing. Her power comes from the Red God. Yeah. That's literally it. She's a pawn.
I was just going to say, yeah.
It's crazy when you think about how much she treated Stannis as a pawn.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. But I think one thing they said, and as I watched the inside Game of Thrones thing after the episode, and they said that they've been hinting at it for years that she's old. And I'm like, when? Where's the proof? Where's the proof? Like,
show me the proof.
Show me the proof. I don't know. Hey, if I'm wrong, I might be wrong. I probably am. But, like, honestly, this was so surprising to me to see her just, like, hunch over and deflate. You'd think she'd be proud that she's that freaking old.
Yeah.
And instead she's just, like, this cowering, like, tiny thing, and it's like, well, wait, that's not the Melisandre we know. I don't like that they're breaking her character. I mean, obviously, she's broken because she screwed the pooch on everything. But, I don't know, like, I guess she's getting her just desserts by seeing herself that way, because of what she did to Shireen and because of what she did to Stannis. But I don't know. I just sort of, it fell flat for me. That whole scene was just like, what?
It felt completely flat for me too, just because I was like, oh, that's a plot reveal I don't care about, or character reveal, I guess. I just didn't care, and if they never mentioned it again, I would be like, yeah, that's fine. Let's move on and talk about other things. It just didn't do anything for me.
No, nothing. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another. What's another one of yours? Because that's my second one anyway. So.
Yes, I'm glad that talking about banging his dad, talking about necrophilia led into a very good discussion.
It did. Good old necrophilia. It helps people. No. Never mind.
We could take that in a bunch of different directions.
Weep. Stop talking, Sophia.
You could say it raises the dead.
No. I just actually did the face palm. I did the Boromir face palm. Oh my God, Carly.
I'll simply say that kind of thing.
Raise the dead.
Moving on. I can't take credit for this one because my friend actually mentioned it yesterday. Okay. And I totally agree with it. I never thought of it when I was watching it. He was like, did it bother you that when Jamie saw Cersei, he didn't react to the fact that she has a boy cut now? He did not even notice that her long blonde hair.
Well, you are really offended by the fact that they cut her hair off.
I'm very upset. I really loved her hair so much. I just wanted to make a big blanket of it.
Whoa
and
there.
Just,
Slow down.
This is getting weird. I'm sorry.
First you're talking about necrophilia, now you're talking about wanting to lie in a bed of Cersei's hair. Carly, have you had enough sleep?
You know, I think this is just my true form. This is my Melisandre moment.
It's your Melisandre moment.
Yeah.
We all have them. It's okay.
We all have them.
I had one last night. We're good. I mean, I don't know. I think that it's so traumatic, the experience of docking on a boat that has your daughter's corpse and facing your sister / the mother of your child. Oh, yeah, I think you sort of tend to look past the the aesthetics. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking too. But it was just a little funny to me that this is a really big visual change and there's just no reaction to it. I mean, my whole thing is he probably just figured she's a strong, independent woman who can cut her hair if she wants.
Well, I bet she told him exactly what happened. I bet she told him exactly how it happened.
Oh, that's true. There was probably,
They probably had a very long conversation about it. And I don't know if they did it. We're not sure. They didn't seem to be doing it, so...
A lot of things happen off camera, I guess.
You never know what happens under Lannister sheets. You just
God.
You just don't know.
Sheets of golden hair.
Okay.
Yoda
excuse me. Yoda just came out to play. Okay, So next up, let's, because we were talking about Cersei, let's just move right on into the theory of the week, which we had last season as well, but it's not going to be as long and drawn out. It's just going to be a pretty short one. So we're talking about Cersei, and I love Cersei. I do. I don't know if it's my love of Lena Headey. I don't know if it's my love of strong women, but she rocks my socks off.
She's awesome.
But there is a theory that says that she will actually be murdered by her own son. And this is playing on the prophecy that Maggie the Frog tells Cersei when Cersei is very young and goes to talk to her. And they show that in the beginning of season 5, I believe.
Yeah, super happy that came back this season in this moment. I'm really happy they brought that back.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna bring it back. We're gonna see more flashbacks, but I don't know if we're gonna see it from Bran's green sight or what, or if it's gonna be memories. So obviously, Maggie the Frog predicted that she would be a queen until another younger, more beautiful comes to wreck everything and ruin her life. But she also makes a very stirring sort of chill, goose pimple-y prediction that describes Cersei's death. And what she says is, "And when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat and choke the life from you." Which is really freaking terrifying, because Valonqar is actually Valyrian for little brother. So obviously people think that it's Tyrion that's going to be killing Cersei, but if you actually look very specifically into the wording of Maggie's prophecy, she says the Valonqar, not your Valonqar.
I will also say, I didn't think about this until right now. If Tommen... Okay, is Tommen the product... Is he a Baratheon, or is he...
No, he's incestual. He's a product of incest. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and technically...
No, don't say it.
Is he not technically their sibling?
Ew. No, he would be her nephew. But also her kid. Because they're siblings.
True, but like, if you combine the DNA and it's just Lannister DNA again, I think it's kind of like...
I mean, it's incest.
Yeah,
there's no rhyme or reason to incest. I mean, it's incest. That should be the tagline of this. This season on You Got. It's just incest. I don't know. But anyway, the theory is that instead of Maggie the Frog doesn't say your Valonqar, she says the Valonqar, and the Valonqar means the little brother, and there is only one little brother, and that is Tommen. So who knows? Maybe Tommen's going to be murdering Cersei for Marjorie.
Yeah, and I was actually just going to say, like, they've been building on that slowly but surely. Because I mean, you have Marjorie pulling the Tommen strings in her direction. Obviously, you have Cersei as a protective mother, but also as, you know, someone who wants to not see Marjorie in power.
Right, exactly.
And so we've been able to see the show build up this kind of tension. And I mean, Tommen does love Marjorie, and I do feel like Marjorie is working her magic on him.
Well, right now the Sparrow's working his magic on Marjorie to ensure that he can get Tommen on his side.
Yeah. So I mean, you get a lot of forces working against
Tommen could totally be tricked into killing his mom.
Oh, 100%. I have no doubt for a second that he is totally swayable.
Yep. 100%. Okay, so let's now talk. This is a new section. Ooh. It is called Sophia's therapy session. We figured we can use Carly's psychology knowledge and my PTSD from the books to show disaster.
Yes, as the DSM states.
We're going to be talking about one issue that I had in terms of books versus the show. Just one, nothing crazy. I'm going to try and tone down my speaking toward the books because they're totally different and I have to understand that. But we're going to slowly work toward that. So I get I get to gripe about one thing a week.
I like it, yes.
So that's what we're going to do. But first, I would just like to take a moment of silence for the dearly departed Stannis Baratheon, who was confirmed dead in the Red Woman by Roose Bolton. So let's just take a moment here.
Moment of silence.
Okay, that was really nice. That was really nice. I got to think about my favorite moments with Stannis, which weren't in the show. So
little montage in your mind.
Just a little montage. I just saw his eyes, just like staring at me through the flames.
Salt and pepper.
He was like, "It's okay." He told me, "It's okay, Sophia. You're gonna be fine." Okay, so my gripe, which is I don't even know if you're gonna be able to help me out with this one, Carly, because you and I are both in the same boat. But God dang Dorne.
Oh God.
Okay. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with Dorne.
This might be one of those times where the psychologist needs a psychologist because Dorne has. Oh my God. Okay, you go first because this is your time. This is your therapy session.
I just don't even know where to begin because, you know, the moment I saw Dorne in the opening, in the dun, 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 you know, in the theme song, I was just like, gosh darn it, and I saw their names, and so I knew that they were going to be. I knew that Indira Sharma was going to be in the episode. I knew that the Sand Snakes were going to be in the episode, and I was just like, maybe they learned from their mistakes. That's all I asked of them. This was to not kill off Davos and to learn from their mistakes. And instead, they have completely ruined any of the goodness that was left in Dorne by straight up murdering Arya Hota, Doran Martell, and Tristan Martell. My mind, I mean, It was the last time I tweeted during the premiere, and all I said was in all caps, "What the heck? What the heck is happening?" Like with 3 exclamation points after the end of each one.
That's an appropriate reaction.
I just can't believe that anyone would ever think of putting Arya Sand in charge. Like, it blows my mind because she is so
the worst.
Revenge driven. I mean, oh god, it's like they put Lady Stoneheart, but a bad version, into the real version of Arya Sand. And I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but like it really feels that way. It just feels that they are reaching.
And how does that make you feel?
Oh, I feel great about it.
It's the favorite part of the show.
I love it so much. I love hatred.
I love it.
I love feeling anguish and pain.
Oh. It's unfortunate because last season they just kind of screwed Dorne up. They did not. It was bad. It was so bad.
And I have my spear.
God,
that's what it felt like.
And in this season, it was just a huge cop-out. Yeah. It was like, let's wipe out everyone who is actually worth caring about in Dorne and just keep the characters we literally
despise.
Could not care less about.
We despise.
Hate them so much. We hate them so much. I don't ever want to see them again. They have no significance in my mind as characters who have any plot purpose.
And now we're going to see them probably in every episode.
Great. I'm so excited.
I'm so looking forward to it. Yay, every episode. Let's just, you know what? Let's end the rest of this show and let's just watch Dorne. A Game of Dorne.
A Game of Dorne.
Game of Dorne.
It'll be the spin-off of Game of Thrones. The more popular, better, awarded spin-off.
Yes.
Yes.
On the CW.
On the CW.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just really frustrated because we know that revenge-driven characters wind up in the mud, and it's frustrating. It just seemed lackluster. It was shocking, but it wasn't shocking. Like, Doran did not deserve that death.
No.
Doran is a very, very cool character, and they gave him no chance whatsoever, and they traded him out for a character that is so boring.
Oh.
And then they killed Arya Hota, who, I'm sorry, stabbed in the back. Are you serious? He totally would have survived that.
Oh, yeah. Would have survived it. And all the deaths were just, kind of a coward. The way that they were killed was how a coward would
Stabbed in the back. Tristan was stabbed through the head from the back. Arya Hota was stabbed in the back. Doran Martell was stabbed right in the heart, but still,
But he was in a chair.
In a chair, and he's weak. He doesn't have, his legs barely work.
Right.
So he's a cripple, essentially. And they freaking attacked them, and it just blows my mind.
It's insane. It absolutely makes no sense. And it's upsetting because I really would have liked to see how, what's the prince's name?
Tristan.
Tristan. I really would have liked to see how he reacted to Marcella's death. I really would have liked to see, where he took his power.
He knew. He knew because it happened on the boat that he was on.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
But we just never got to see his reaction from it.
Well, exactly, and that could have turned into an interesting plotline in its own right.
Yep, absolutely.
His reaction to it, and what he was going to do from there is kind of a rising, future kingly figure, and they just it was a big waste. It was a big waste of what could have been really cool.
Absolutely. So, okay, we're both on the same page. Dorne sucks.
Yeah.
Dorne sucks. That's all we have to say.
My diagnosis is that it just straight up sucks.
Dorne is the worst.
Dorne is the worst. Dorne is the worst. I prescribe literally watching any other moment of the episode.
Yes, I agree. So let's move on to something more positive. Let's talk about your segment, my dear. Do you want to explain it?
I do, yes. We're still working it out.
Of course, as we do.
It's a work in progress. We're going to call this segment a work in progress.
There we go.
Yes. And, but basically what we do is, it's a blank of the week kind of thing. And so this week it's badass moment of the week, which will have a better name someday, but work in progress. And this week, I don't think there's any argument that the badass moment of the week was Brienne.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hands down, best moment of the week.
Oh my God. So
Brienne
good.
taking them out.
Oh yeah. And it was one of the few times where I was very okay with coming in the nick of time and like just getting there right before they take them back to the hellhole they came from. It didn't seem like cheesy. It didn't seem hokey. It seemed like, no, she knows what she's doing. She's probably been following them. She knows where they've been going. Like, she knows what she's doing. So it was such an awesome and like well-deserved Brienne moment.
I remember we were all chanting her name.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when they all surrounded Sansa and Theon, we were like, Brienne, and then we heard the horse whinny, and we all just lost our, like, marbles.
Oh, my God.
We all went insane. And there she comes riding. God, she's so cool. She's the so perfect, cool. She's amazing.
She's amazing. I mean, she's awesome, and I feel like this episode may have been the episode that if people weren't Brienne fans, or if they liked her but, like, didn't really feel either way about her, I feel like this is the episode that kind of was like, okay, she's awesome, like, this is who we want to follow.
No, I mean, halfway through season 5, I fell in love with her. It took me a really long time. I thought she was a little ridiculous, but now nothing about her seems like that way to me. She is incredible. She is everything that this show needs. And if she weren't in it, it would just be so slow.
I agree. And I mean, she, to me, is the most, because one of the kind of qualms I had about this episode is that it felt less like the adaptation that it's supposed to be, and it felt more like a TV show.
Yes.
Which I don't like. It took away something special a little bit, and I don't really know what that is. And it was just the first episode, so, but the Brienne moment was it just felt very Game of Thrones. It felt like, yes, this is from the world that I fell in love with, that I continued watching the show for, and...
Exactly. It was so perfect. It was, I 100% agree. There is hands down no other moment that even comes close to being as badass as that. At all. Like, Brienne has absolutely taken the cake for the best. I'm honestly one of the best characters in the show. Because she's not afraid, and she's wounded, and she's I don't even know what I'm saying. She's just wonderful. Like, I get so caught up in thinking about her. She's so cool.
She is so cool and, like, has been through so much. And I feel like she's had to prove herself throughout the entire show, not only to the other characters, but she has finally, like, she has proven herself to us. And we're on the same page. We're on Team Brienne now. I think everybody's on Team Brienne.
If you don't like Brienne, who are you? And what has she not done to make you like her? Seriously. She shouldn't even have to try.
No, she shouldn't, because she's awesome. I mean, the people who don't like Brienne are probably the same people who like Dorne. So... that's what I would guess. So it's bad.
No. Shame on you.
Shame.
No. If I hear that ever. If I see that Septa one more time, I'm gonna... She's the worst. Septa Unella. I'm glad that the High Sparrow was like, yeah, she kind of sucks. I'll talk to her about it.
She's the worst. That actually seemed like classic manipulation, though.
Definitely.
Good cop, bad cop. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. But I'm so glad he said it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, badass moment of the week. Total, complete agreement on both sides. Let's move on to my badass, my love. Let's do Davos talk. Let's get right into the nitty gritty and talk about Davos for, half an hour. 'Cause I would.
And the next episode will be dedicated purely to Davos.
That's it. The Onion Knight of my heart. He gets everything. No, but for real, if we're being completely honest, like, I could not be happier and more terrified to see him front and center. I know, like, I think he had the most screen time in this episode. If we're really thinking about it, he's in it so much. He's in 2 scenes and that was more than most other characters were in.
I think he was in more than that, actually.
3, maybe?
I think he was in 3.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
Oh, you're right. He is in 3. He's in the beginning, middle, and the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. I loved the mutton, him talking to Alistair Thorne and being like, I want mutton.
Oh, it's so good.
And then knowing that he's clever in a way that isn't clever. I don't know how to say it. He doesn't think of himself as knowledgeable or clever or good in any way, but yet he's a smuggler. Like, you have to remember that this guy, and this is what I'm going to get into in our next segment, is actually very well seasoned in this type of thing. And he says it. He's like, he goes, I've been running from men like that, talking about Alistair Thorne, all my life. And I think we're going to finally get to know you guys you who have not read the books or who have read the books but always sort of got bored during Davos scenes, like, you are gonna understand why this guy is so important. And oh God, I'm so nervous. Kyle Tremblay was asking me, he was like, do you think that, I think he's gonna die this season, do you? And I wholeheartedly 100% believe that they are gonna keep, if anybody's gonna survive this, it's gonna be Davos.
I think so too. I'm not nervous for him, which actually makes me nervous, but I'm not nervous for him. And
anyone can die. We know that. But in my heart right now, I believe that he won't die.
I like that, and I hope that is true.
Me too.
One thing I think he has that a lot of people don't have who are in power in the show, or who are just in the show in general, he has that sense of, like, I don't know if humility is the right word.
Yeah.
Is it the right word? Like, because he's seen stuff. He's kind of seen the real world. Not that, anybody at Castle Black hasn't. Like, obviously they're living in some of the harshest conditions that exist in this world. But, and they've seen, they've seen struggle, they've seen war, like, they've seen a lot. But he comes at everything, and he did this for Stannis, too. Like, Stannis was he was so under the Red Woman's control, and Davos was always that anchor, bringing him back down to earth. And I think that that's Davos's biggest strength, is that he is that kind of, like, down to earth, just kind of real person who's like, no, I've been around the block, like, I've seen.
Yeah, and he never tries to take control. He just talks. He doesn't want to be in control. That's not what he wants. Like, even when he's talking to the Brothers of the Night's Watch, he's like, you can leave, but just know that I think that these guys are untrustworthy, and I've been around the block. Like, I don't know. I'm really, God, I just love him. And I'm so excited for this season. It really set up, for one thing, it really set up Davos' story. And in the trailer, we saw that he's going to be going to House Mormont at some point, and he's going to be talking to Lyanna, who I believe is 12 years old. So we're going to see him with another young girl at some point in this. And I don't know if my heart's going to be able to handle it, to be honest.
If he gives her, like, a little, like, wooden toy deer.
Like a bear.
It was that he gave, I can't.
Yeah, I know, it would be so much. But yeah, that just Davos. That was sort of like it's nothing I've never said before about Davos, but I really do believe that he is a major player this season, and keep your eye on him. That's all I have to say. Keep your eye on Liam Cunningham. Keep your eye on Davos. He knows what he's doing. He has a plan.
He's got it.
He's got it. And now to even more reinforce my love of Davos, we're going to talk about this is a new segment. It's called The History of Westeros. I'm just going to throw tiny, interesting tidbits of information at you guys about the history of Westeros and sort of what went down in, Robert's Rebellion, even earlier than that, in the fall of Valyria, all that kind of stuff. I just think that it's so interesting, and it's so steeped in history, Westeros is, that, it's cool to know little things. And because Davos was so front and center in this episode, I wanted to sort of tell a story about Davos. But it's also about Stannis. So, Carly, are you ready for this?
Yes, okay. Do it. I'm ready to learn.
Are you ready? Okay, so back during Robert's Rebellion, which was Robert versus Mad Aerys the King, he wanted to usurp him. Mace Tyrell was allied with Mad King, and it was Stannis Baratheon was with Robert and Ned and all those people. Mace Tyrell descended on Storm's End, which is obviously, we've been there multiple times. It's Stannis' house, Stannis' place of living. And they sieged Storm's End for a better part of a year. And Storm's End has never, ever fallen, to this day, has never fallen to siege because of the way it's situated. But the problem was that they were running out of food. And so somehow a smuggler slipped through the red wine fleet of the Arbor, which is Mace Tyrell's, Paxter Redwine's dude. I don't know. There are a lot of names in this that don't really matter to other people, but they matter to me. I don't know. He slipped through the fleet and entered Storm's End with onions and saltfish, enough to give the starving garrison what they needed to fight back until Ned Stark arrived to save them. So essentially, Davos saved, and this is how he got knighted, and this is why he is the Hand of the King. It's because he just took it upon himself to go and take them onions, and that's why he's called the Onion Knight as well. So, just a little, it's not, I mean, I just love it because he was the reason that they survived that.
That's awesome. Let me just pick up this knowledge you just dropped on everybody.
What are you going to do with it, Carly?
Oh my god, so many things. There's so many things I could do with it.
You're like, I don't know what to do with it.
It's layered like an onion.
It is. That's a Shrek reference, dude.
It is. That is a Shrek reference.
Don't bring Shrek into Davos. Like, what are you doing? No, I know they both talk about onions, but come on. Oh my god.
That is very cool, and I think that's my favorite piece of what, like, history from Game of Thrones that you have told me, because you are like a walking encyclopedia for this stuff now, and anytime, like, I'm always like, tell me a story about Westeros, like, just like hands on my chin, like.
Yeah, right. Well, it's just like Davos is so important. The siege, so when they sieged, it continued for a year, and the garrison like had to resort to eating their horses and dogs and cats, and almost had to eat each other, like their own dead. Like, it was crazy. While Mace and Paxter Redwine and Mathis Rowan all feasted right outside of the castle walls and like made fun of them. And so Davos showing up in the nick of time with his, that was like a really big deal, and no one ever talks about it.
Gee, they really should have that in the show, because like one of the things that I've learned from you throughout, last season and this season so far is how important Davos is, because I did not know before. I was just like, he's a cute old man, I wish he was my grandpa.
In case you were wondering, I almost named this podcast Davos Talk.
Oh my gosh.
It was going to be literally all about him, and then I decided against it. But that is my little tidbit, history of Westeros. Next week we might be talking about the Doom of Valyria. Who knows? Because we can talk about Jorah. We didn't talk about... Jorah was in this episode, and he found Khaleesi's ring, and that's really all we need to know about that. Tyrion was in it too, and they talked.
Yeah.
There was talking.
Tyrion often does.
With Varys. They were talking, and then their ships got burned.
And that's it.
But I don't think they were planning on going back to Westeros anyway, so I'm confused by that. But now I think that's really all to cover in the episode, right? I think we did a pretty good job with that.
I think we did too. It was a very dip the toe in kind of episode.
It was.
This episode set up a lot of what is going on this season, and it kind of acted as a good bridge from the insanity that was last season and the end of it, and getting us into season 6.
I think so too. I know they told us everything we need to know about every character that we care about. We know where everybody is sort of headed, and we're a little bit more prepared. We're not going to be thrown in completely blind into this next episode.
Yes.
Where we're going to see Bran. I'm so excited. Like, where Bran is coming back in the next episode. My baby, my angel, my little angel. Like, Bran is coming back, and I'm so excited. But let's finish it out by giving this the Red Woman a beard rating.
Oh man.
Ooh, because that's not going away. So, Carly, of all the beards in Westeros, what does the Red Woman equate to?
Oh man. That's a good... I think I'm going to have to give it to Davos's beard, because this episode was so Davos-centric.
Interesting. That is a fair... See, I've always held Davos's beard in the highest regard, so that's different from what you said last night about this episode, but I'm down with it.
I'm only giving it a Davos beard because
of all the Davos, because he was in it so much. Yes.
For this episode, I think I would probably give it a Jorah.
Yeah, something like a little there, but not really
patchy,
there. Yeah.
Kind of sandy looking,
but trustworthy and stalwart.
But I mean, trustworthy, but also kind of there's a disease underneath. So.
And that's I decided to give it to the Colin Morrow's Donald Glover lookalike Blood Rider.
Oh my god.
That is who the beard rating I'm giving it. It was exactly what it needed to be, but with a little cleverness thrown in as well, a little bit lighthearted, sort of jokey type nonsense. And I don't know, I really, overall, I thought this episode did exactly what it needed to do. It wasn't crazy. Nothing really happened except the murder of all the freaking Martells. That happened. They all just, got murdered. But overall, like, it's no Blackwater. It's no Watchers on the Wall. But it's also no Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken.
It's a bridge. It's a bridge episode.
It's a bridge episode.
I'm excited to see what it's leading us to. I'm not so much excited. I wasn't super stoked about this episode. I'm just stoked that Game of Thrones is back and we have something to do with our lives again.
Exactly. So Carly, tell our dear sweet listeners how they can find you.
Yes. Okay. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Chillin555, which is CHILLYN 555. I am also on Medium.com at Hi Yes Hello. And if you want to find me a much easier way, just go to Threadless.com. I'm the blogger for Threadless. I'm the content manager and writer. So just go to Threadless, go to our blog. I write about a lot of cool, geeky things and fun, artsy things. So my name is there and some links.
Yay! Yeah. And as always, you can find me at Sophia and Porter on Twitter, and you can also follow the podcast at YouGotGotPod. If you guys have any questions, tweet at us. If you liked the episode, if you didn't like the episode, let us know, because we want to know, obviously, we care what you think. So thank you all so much for listening.
And remember, the night is dark,
but full of Davos.